didn't even see I was muted. Hey, y'all, welcome to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy, James, where I am here to give my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. Not gonna happen in this video, but that's okay. We'll live to fight another day. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Tonight, joining me as always is my co-host, Mrs. Best. I'm not sure if she's here with us right now.
Hello, I'm here.
She is here. You guys make sure you subscribe to her channel. Any reviews or recaps I don't cover on my channel personally. It's because we cover on Mrs. Best's channel. We have both Love and Hip Hop, Miami and Atlanta. We have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills currently going, and then soon we'll have Real Housewives of Miami on her channel as well, where I'll be joining again too to give my opinion. So if you don't want to miss out on those, you'll subscribe to her channel here. And while you're subscribing to both of us, go ahead and pay Shana underscore MCD a little visit and subscribe to her channel as well. I have her current channel here, and I have her new channel that she has as a backup channel. Shana is trying to get both her channels, both one remonetized and one monetized. So we're trying to make sure we help her along the way, make sure we get those channels monetized. So that way she gets what she rightfully deserves, because she deserves a lot more than what she's getting. And YouTube is playing with her. So we want to make sure we show her some love. And because I, at this time, am not monetized myself, I can say all that because YouTube ain't gonna get me. So it is. None of us watch our. We don't. My channel's name is an oxymoron. Especially when I start doing my reactions to movies and stuff. I'm waiting because my man wants to do it with me. So I'm waiting on him for us to coordinate a time where we can both do it together. And y'all finna be in for a ride because none of us have sense. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. So I'm definitely not gonna watch my mouth when it comes to the movie reaction. Sorry, y'all. But nevertheless, this is Married to Medicine, season 11, episode 14, Choosing Sides. When I tell y'all this episode annoyed the fuck out of me, we just gonna get into it, y'all, and then we gonna. I'm telling y'all, I'm letting y'all know right now, Contessa is not safe in this life. She's not. She finna get red because she annoyed me highly. So if y'all have any Contessa fans out there, I am so sorry. I used to be one. Contessa was my favorite, and she has moved all the way to my least favorite now. And this episode proved why. So the episode pretty much opens up basically with a couple different things. So we first go over to Dr. Simone and Dr. Jackie. They're meeting up to, talk and catch up and everything. And Dr. Simone shows Dr. Jackie the video of Dr. Gregory doing his little song. And Dr. Jackie's reaction was priceless. She was looking at Simone like, is he serious right now? And Simone was just hollering. And she was doing that loud cackle. I was like, oh yeah, she has watched that video 150 times and just was laughing. Me and Mrs. Best was laughing about it too before that episode aired. She had sent it to me. And I watched it and I said, oh Lord. I said, someone get this man. And so, they then talk about Phaedra. And Dr. Jackie said, she's not coming around us anymore, but she did pay the full $40,000 for the Met Gala. So now that we have the full $100,000, it has been paid. We can lay that to rest. And I said, now I could have sworn Dr. Heavenly said on her YouTube channel that none of that money was paid. So which one is Mrs. Best? What do you feel? Because I was like, I could have sworn Dr. Heavenly said way after they stopped filming that money was never paid.
I believe she said something along the lines of the check had bounced or something like that. Phaedra showed receipts. It showed that the check did originally bounce because I saw something saying that there were insufficient funds there. But then later it did clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that's about. This is personally outside of my income bracket. I'm on social worker income. So I don't know anything about that, but Phaedra did prove that she did pay it and that the check did clear. So I'll just go off of the receipt.
Yeah, I think that that's the best thing we can do. I'm gonna give Phaedra the benefit of the doubt just because I don't like how they played with Phaedra as far as that, but Phaedra also be full of shit. They also talked about that as well, about how Phaedra knew that Apollo was coming. She just didn't know about Shireen coming. And so, you know, You had a date, and apparently, according to Dr. Jackie, is that Apollo doesn't like when Phaedra has a new man and when she's dating. And I'm looking at that like, sir, okay, so you can get married to some old.
The woman that you cheated on your wife with while she was pregnant with your child, yes, she's going to have a problem being around her. She doesn't have to be around her, especially when the lady don't respect her enough out of love for their kids. So I can get that, but then at the same time, if you know that he get mad when he see you with a man and you know that this man knows him, then why invite the man on the trip that you know he's coming to? So I think both sides are right in that instance. Like Phaedra didn't have to deal with that because I wouldn't want nobody playing with my co-parenting relationship in any way. But then at the same time, Jackie did have a point. Like you knew who you were talking to, you still chose to talk to him. You knew Apollo was coming, so you invited his partner, who you know would be sharing a room with you, to get under his skin. So it's a hot mess. Phaedra has to take some accountability.
Sorry, y'all. No, I agree with what you're saying, but then at the same time, this is my thing. I feel like it wouldn't matter if it was his friend or if it wasn't his friend. He was gonna feel away, and then to me, that would ask the question of if you really over Phaedra or not.
He was never over Phaedra. Apollo seems like the type of man who's okay with being kept and taken care of, because that's really
Mm,
what he did with Phaedra. And then that's essentially what Shireen did as well. She was paying for him and held him down while he was locked up. And when he got back free and didn't have nothing, she was the one caring for him. So I'd look at it as he never got over Phaedra. He just needed his need to be a kept man was more important than actually showing her that he might have actually cared. And I don't think she's over him either. I don't think either of them will ever have another successful marriage at all. They just seem toxic enough for each other. He's shady enough for Phaedra, and we know that she lies, and shady people are okay with that. But they stubborn. They probably still sleeping together too.
oh, I wasn't gonna say all that, but okay. But yeah, that was an interesting part of the conversation. So we then move on to Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Contessa meeting up for lunch. And they're meeting up. Dr. Contessa said that directly her and Heavenly have had their, spats, they brought back the girls' trip that they took at the beginning of the season. And then throughout the times, they have been very polite to each other. So she thinks right now is a good time for her and Heavenly to kind of bury the hatchet and see if they can move forward in some kind of capacity. Um, Once Heavenly gets there, they talk about, what went wrong. And Heavenly wants Contessa to have some fault in it if she has to take some fault. And honestly, I'm going to be real with y'all. That's fair. Because at least Heavenly is saying, look, I'm willing to meet you where I'm at, where I had some wrong, but you had some fault into it as well. And Contessa's like, I want you to elaborate on that. Like, what did I have fault in? She said, look, I told you, if you going to badmouth your husband, then you need to shut the hell up because you on national TV. I gave you good advice as a friend. And Contessa was like, no, you know what my problem was with you is you saying he was abusive. And Heaven's like, you not mad at that. You are not mad at that at all. She goes, no, that's disparaging his character. Like, why wouldn't I be mad about that? She said, Contessa, come on. You cannot be mad about that because you used the word volatile when it came to describing your situation. Contessa said, volatile is not abusive. And I said, here we go. Here we go.
And I mean, it's the adverb to it though. Just
Exactly.
I'm just from what I learned in grammar school.
It's semantics.
Yes.
It's semantics, Contessa. Come on. We're not going to play this game. As soon as she said that, I said, oh, say, Contessa playing games. You're playing games. And see, if I was Heavenly, I would have got the fuck up off the table and be like, I can't do this with you. I tried. It's just not going to work. Point blank, end the period. So, and you know what, Shane, it goes beyond that. The problem with Contessa is that the fact of the matter is that she wanted everyone to rally and be on her side when it came to Scott and the shit that he was doing. And when it came to Heavenly, Heavenly was on her side, but Heavenly was playing Get Fair, where she was calling Contessa out too and holding her accountable, especially when they fell out. When they fell out and Contessa was trying to blame Heavenly, Heavenly took a step back and was like, okay, no, now you're playing with me. And I really feel like for me, looking at this situation again, I watched the YouTube videos with Contessa on there. Contessa is full of shit. She's full of shit, and she wants to rewrite history and act as if that man wasn't doing the same shit Heavenly was describing. Heavenly didn't say nothing. Actually, she spared Contessa a lot. The 2 seasons that Contessa was going through it in her marriage, she really did. So it was like, Contessa, you were picking, and you were
All
trying to
that
find ways.
matters,
Mhm.
you accepted Heavenly's apology and y'all made peace before you left this show. There was no beef until you came back to this show. So none of that even matters. Y'all was supposed to have squashed the beef and gotten over it. Contessa says she forgave, valued their friendship, and heavily exposed her ass as someone who was fraudulent in that because they was cool until the cameras came back. Now suddenly Contessa has a beef. She's acting like Sweet Tea,
Mhm.
a bigger version of her.
It's just she plays games. It's like I don't understand what you're getting out of trying to make a situation, because to me it seems like she was trying to make Heavenly the scapegoat of why she was having problems in her marriage and trying to pinpoint that specific thing as the reasoning of why she needs to have this beef. Because as I said, it's easy to beef with Heavenly because Heavenly gonna give you a run for your money. So it's easy for that to happen. But that's why, and that's again one of the things I did not like about Contessa is the fact that you use that as your reasoning to keep a check coming at her expense. And I don't like that. That's fucked up. So they don't agree. Um, Contessa said Dr. Heaven continued to talk ish about her on YouTube channel after they squashed it. I remember her saying that, but the problem that I have with that situation is that even still, what makes Contessa's, even if they squashed it and Heavenly still continued, Contessa still did exactly what Heavenly was saying. So in terms, I understand that. And I'm not trying to give Heavenly an out because really, I went into when Heavenly first started doing this shit, and when her and Contessa first fell out, I was mad at Heavenly because I just knew Heavenly did something wrong. But when it was revealed of what it actually was, I was like, no, Contessa's wrong. So even if they decide to squash it and Heavenly still talk shit about her on YouTube, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you know what it is. And she's been doing this for seasons. It's not like she just started doing it. She's been doing this since season 5 of the show. So
It's
I feel
almost
like,
like she's trying to hold Heavenly responsible for
yes,
how Scott has been received. But we didn't receive Scott negatively because of Heavenly. We received Scott
exactly.
negatively because he acted like an asshole when he was on this show. And Contessa said every negative thing we needed to know about him, including that he can be verbally and emotionally abusive. She said this at reunion. She said this on the show. She doubled down in interviews. She went on Heavenly's channel saying those
Yes.
things. So I think what people are missing is that Heavenly's admitted her fault, yes. And she did have Contessa fucked up originally. However, comma, Contessa has taken no accountability or ownership for any of this whatsoever. You can't put all of that blame and say that she is this one person is disparaging his character when really she's not the first person or even the last to say many of the things that have been said. And then it makes it worse because Contessa herself has also said these things. So it's one of those things where I don't think the two will ever find resolution. Heavenly was wrong and Contessa was wrong. Heavenly was wrong to talk about it after her friend expressed that it made her uncomfortable. If that's really your friend, then don't talk about it on the channel, on your YouTube channel. But then Contessa's wrong because regardless on what you go through in your marriage, if you don't want your spouse's character to be put at risk, if you don't want your spouse's character to be negatively judged, then don't tell us every negative thing about your partner. So I get where both people are coming from, but it's pointless in the two to still be arguing with it. And that's why I don't want them to talk about this shit no more.
Me too. Because
Be
at the
friends
end of
or
the
don't.
day, Contessa did that to get everybody on her side. That's how her and Scott operate. That's why when she had went off to school and Scott was telling the kids about her and everything when he was in that car with the kids and he was talking about her, it was a way to get the kids on his side. That's how they operate in their marriage. It's very weird. So when Heavenly wasn't all the way on Contessa's side with it, it's kind of like, yeah, you're now going to go against her and put her at the fault and the blame because she didn't conform the way the other ladies did at that
And
reunion.
then Contessa, how many damn times does Heavenly have to admit fault and apologize?
Exactly.
How many times do you want her to do it? Because every time that you continue to beef with her, you're forcing this issue and discussion about your husband to come up again. Because this season, Emily ain't said nothing about your husband
Heavenly ain't
unless
getting
you've
nothing out.
asked her a question or started some shit. So it's like, Contessa, you are contradicting yourself.
She is, and that's why I'm saying what makes this a moot point for me is her going on the YouTube channel as well and talking about it. I'm sorry, y'all. I cannot blame Heavenly. As much as I want to, I can't because Contessa went on that channel. I showed it on my channel twice, where she has went on Heavenly's YouTube channel and talked about her own marriage. So that invalidates any point that she makes about Heavenly talking shit about her marriage. If you were willing to go on the YouTube channel your damn self and talk about it. That invalidates anything. So sorry, y'all. I can't see it for Contessa. As much as I want to, and as much as I want to blame Heavenly for, being obnoxious and, ghetto as Abyss Day when just said here, Contessa went on the YouTube channel as well and spilled her own shit. So we can't get mad at her. I'm just saying that invalidates it now. So moving forward from there, because Contessa talks about, the event that the doctors are going to put on. She's in charge of it this season, where, she's the spokeschairman for diabetes in America or something, whatever that event is called. I'm so sorry I'm messing up the name, y'all. And she's giving Heavenly, the rundown of what everybody's going to do. And Heavenly said, well, is everybody invited? And Contessa said, yeah, I invited everybody. And Heavenly said that's a little irresponsible considering what's going on between Greg and King. And Contessa was like, well, everyone should be able to coexist in a space, and in her profession, she goes, I'm a doctor. Like, I have to put my personal aside, for the cause, the bigger cause. It's called stigma. And I said, Contessa, it is not the same thing. I understand what Contessa is saying, but the doctor on the show pressed charges against somebody and he cannot physically be around him. Like, I don't understand what she's not getting from that. So when Heavenly say that's irresponsible, it's because it is. You're putting people in predicaments where their freedom could be jeopardized because you want everyone to show up to your event. That's very irresponsible. So I agree with Heavenly. That's very irresponsible for her to do. Mrs. Best, how did you feel?
It's Contessa even having an event as a friend of, not an official cast member. Flip Contessa and Sweet Tea, because Sweet Tea don't even know if she want to deal with these bitches because everything she does is based on her husband because that's where the money's at. So like, why are friend ofs having events? But I'll digress on that. As for I, I'm just very very annoyed further with Contessa. It's not her problem that Dr. G pressed charges or tried to press charges and all of that. I don't think it's her responsibility to be aware of that. However, I would either choose a side or not invite either side if she truly wants to stay in the middle. If you really don't want to get involved and are about peace, then don't invite either of the people who are beefing with each other. Then it can really be about your event. But instead, you invite both of them, tell each party at the last minute, and then try to talk to them about it at the event. This event, to me, in terms of professionalism and Contessa wanted to have peace, was just bullshit.
It
She's full of
was.
it.
It was 100%. And I agree with Abiste Winnen's comment to a certain extent, because initially it is connected to the show, so of course Quad had to be there. But directly, I wouldn't have invited either one, like Mrs. Best said. I wouldn't have invited either Greg or Sweet Tea or King or Quad. I would not have invited them. I would have kept this strictly between the doctors of the show. So that would have been just Dr. Jackie, Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Damon, Dr. Scott. And I don't know why Dr. Simone was not there, but directly, I would have just kept it there. What else is Sweet Tea's problem? It's not, but at the same time, it is her husband, so she has to stand behind him. I think Sweet Tea has some type of medical job, right? No, she doesn't. She does tech.
But she was a medic when she was in the
In the
army.
army, yeah. Mm-hmm. Um, but still, like, I don't think I wouldn't have invited either one. I wouldn't invite either or couple.
The thing with it is, we have to remember that this show originally came on Bravo as Married to Medicine. So some of these people are the medicine, some of the people are the ones they are married to. Quad came on not as medicine, but someone who was married to medicine. She may not be here anymore, but because she was an original person on the show, I can't see them getting rid of her.
I don't say them get rid of her either. But if we're being technical, the show is called Married, meaning that it is past tense. So technically, Quad still fits the mold, regardless of how people feel about her. So
If
regardless,
that's the case, then all the housewives need to be fired because half of these bitches ain't housewives no more.
no, I agree. But I'm just saying, and some of them never were housewives, but at the same time, she still was technically married to a doctor. So she, just because the production decided to keep her longer than I felt they should, yeah. But I can't help that's how they spelled it. The best they went in. No, I didn't try anything. That's how they spelled it. It doesn't mean it. That's exactly what that word means. Married. So yes, she was married to medicine. Technically, it's past tense. It's how it's spelled right there. I have it right there on the screen. That's how it's spelled. So, anyways, y'all, we're gonna move on. We then move on to Toya and Eugene. Eugene has some type of accident where Toya and the boys was playing in the golf cart and they forgot to charge it, and he had the toe bed fell on his toe, and that looked crazy as hell. And I was like, "What were you doing? Why was you?" Never
Why
mind.
were you behind the tow truck while it's towing something? Toya, you ain't got no job and your kids is bigger. Why couldn't you remember to have somebody plug in the golf cart, or why couldn't you do it
Like,
yourself?
what was y'all
What
doing?
is wrong with this? Just a bunch of the lights are on but no one's home moments. 'Cause, like, wait.
I wanna have this kind of money. I do. I want to see if I'm gonna be this damn stupid. Like I really do. I really want to see if I'm gonna be this damn stupid because what the hell were y'all doing? But anyway, she tells them, about the party and everything, and she has this change of heart where she actually is going to invite both couples, which is Sweet Tea and Greg and Quad and King, to the event because she had this heart to heart with Sweet Tea, and she said that she feels like T was accountable for her part in it. And I'm just like, what conversation did they have, and what did I not see?
It's
Because
given she want to be a full-time cast member and nobody else wanted to deal with T because they don't really like Greg. It was actually Quad they liked when they was a couple. And so they had Contessa to be the one to talk to T. That's what it's given to me.
that's what, yeah, I felt like that too, but they didn't. They just didn't say it like that. Don't be mad because Toya lived the soft life. That totally, I ain't mad at her. Let me tell y'all something.
Toya is truly married to medicine. She is a wife. I give her shit because she always got something to say about somebody else's stuff, or she's always struggling. They can't never seem to get their finances in order. But she is a wife. I just wish sometimes she'd actually consider her spouse and his mental health. But she is a wife, so she should be living the soft life.
They barely like Quad. They blame Quiet for the breakup. I'm assuming they blame Quad for. I'm assuming you saying they blame Quad for that breakup marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's her choice. I'm never mad at somebody for ending a marriage, regardless if they're at fault or not. You don't
Mm.
have to stay married to somebody if you are no longer in the space to be in that marriage. Now, yes, you're supposed to give it the college effort to try and make it work. But if it does not work, then you need to cut your ties and be gone. It's one of the two. Now, I could see if it was a situation where you were unsure. Now, if you're unsure about ending your marriage, then I'm gonna tell you, no, you need to try to make sure you are sure before you cut the ties, because you don't want to make a decision out of anger or out of despair because it's not working right now. Marriage is going to go in those cycles where it feels like it's not going to work, and then it ends up working at the end of it. Sometimes you got to come across on the other side together. That's sometimes how it is. But I don't feel like there was anything in that marriage for Quad based on how he was treating her. And a lot of y'all like to ignore that shit. A lot of y'all like to ignore the shit that he did just because he used the term "I'm taking care of you." A lot of y'all use that as the scapegoat to feel like he was allowed to treat her with disrespect and terror when he was not allowed to do that. Because at the end of the day, yeah, he was taking care of her, but it was an equal trade off. You got a pretty ass woman on your arm when it comes to you going to all these events and looking at and everybody looking at her. It was a fair trade for me. I'm sorry. I don't see. I don't blame Qua for any part of this marriage breaking up because she should have left. Based on what I saw season 3 and season 4, she definitely should have left.
I think anyone that in the group blames anybody for a marriage breaking up, that's cruel and unusual. But it is interesting how, and this is why I pay attention to Married to Medicine audience really do be like cut and dry, black and white. Like there's not very many people in the middle. It's interesting how people feel sorry for Sweet Tea and how Greg talked to her in that one little scene a couple weeks ago. But then people watch season after season after season of Quad quite literally dealing with verbal and emotional abuse and didn't feel sorry for her at all. So I think sometimes how people feel about people also impacts how they look at things. But this group, I think that's what Phaedra's point is too. This group, they really do be some mean girls because they sure did give Quad a hard time and zero
Mhm.
empathy when she went through that divorce. And without knowing anything about their marriage, why would you feel that way? You know? But then when Simone and Cecil were struggling at the same time, they were trying to provide so much support, calling her, checking on her, things of that nature, but they didn't do the same with Quad and Greg. So it's I don't know. I don't think anybody in the group really does like Quad or Dr. G, like not as a couple or as individuals, which I can understand because she was cocky and very selfish in earlier seasons, very about self and bougie. And then Dr. G is Dr. G. There's not much positive we can say about him. So I can get why the group don't care for them. They're just so wishy washy and like kind of like the Salt Lake City housewives. They don't like too many new people, it seems. So I don't know. This group is weird.
They
Toxic
are
as
weird.
hell.
They are weird, and I agree with a bitch say Winners comment. I think that she didn't lie down. Say she left. She made sure she was in a comfortable position to leave and then got the fuck out of there. So I don't blame her for that either. But we're gonna move on, y'all, because I want to make sure we get to um, the meat and potatoes at the end of this episode. So we then go over to Quad and Quad's house. King comes over, and they have a date at the jacuzzi, which I can't wait to do this. I want to pull with a jacuzzi so I can have little date nights like this. That was cute. And they're talking about it because Quad told Heavenly that she really doesn't want to move out of her home. And she would much rather King move in with him because she doesn't want another man holding things over her head the same way Dr. Greg used to hold things over her head. So she really wants to, have him move in. And King's like, no, there's an order into things. I don't think we should do that. I think we should get a place together and you can rent this house out. And I agree with him. I would agree with him because as much as you don't want a man holding that over your head, I'm sure he doesn't want a woman holding that over his head because that is still technically your house. It wouldn't be our space. And I don't understand why people operate like that. And after my experience, because I was in that situation where I moved into a man's home and he reminded me every moment of life that this is his home. And I felt very uncomfortable because, mind you, I'm thousands of miles away from my family. I don't have anybody. And at any time, this man is going to do what he actually did, which was throw me out. And I had to figure it out. So I understand both sides of it, but I feel like if this is really real and this is really the man you want to spend the rest of your life with, you will compromise and say, hey, it may not be a bad idea to get a place together so that way it's equally ours. Mrs. Best, how do you feel about that?
My husband and me watched this together and we both agreed, and I was so glad that not only did King make sense in terms of the we should buy our own home, but he also was willing to compromise. Like, you don't have to sell your home, keep your home. We could rent it out for extra income. He was so quick to compromise versus just shut it down, which I thought was a really good sign. So, very, very good. But absolutely, if you have stuff prior to a marriage, especially with it not being her first marriage, it makes sense to be smart going into it, but it's not fair for that man to have to feel isolated and not comfortable in calling her home his home just because she has trauma from elsewhere. Like that's what I mean by we got to be empathetic to people's trauma, but we don't have to let their trauma impact and dictate how we live our life. If you
Agreed.
starting over new, stop thinking about him, the old him, and build a new home. Cuz this home what Quad doesn't see now is attached cuz her trauma's in the way. It's attached to her and reminds her that she was once with Dr. G and all that she had to go through because that pride that she feels in the home is connected to the freedom of being away from him.
Yeah.
So it don't make sense to bring your new work into there. I think it's good they had the conversation. They both handled it mature, but you could see that she still has a lot of healing to do, like a
Mhm.
lot.
Absolutely. And I feel like she needs to figure that out before she takes it that serious with him because I don't feel like that's a fair thing to attach him to the old trauma that you had with your previous husband. Like, I don't think that that's fair. But yeah, so hopefully they work it out. You know, I'm rooting for them. I really am. So I'm hoping that things work out.
And that's Dr. G's trauma also real fast. Because you could tell Dr. G could not pull a woman for the life of him. Sweet Tea got something posted on her page showing him before her. And then I said, oh, he looks like a straight lame, straight square. So I feel like Dr. G could never pull a woman, but the only way he could pull a woman is with his career or his money. So that's probably why he uses that as weapons against the women. And Sweet Tea gonna go through the same thing.
Yeah, I like that they were, you know, able to table that as well. I feel like they're going to buy another house. I don't feel like Quad's just going to move him in. I just feel like he's going to convince her that this is the right move, that they should definitely rent out her house and buy a new one. Absolutely. So we move on to Simone visiting her boys at the rental property that she's renting to them. It's
I did
coming.
not watch this. I'm just letting you know, so I'm gonna be very silent. I fast forwarded through this shit.
I did too a little bit. I caught it the second time. I forgot to do it the second time. But pretty much, y'all, it's coming up on the year that the boys have been in the house. They don't keep it clean. It's still a mess. She pretty much tells them, look, like, okay, it's coming on for a year. And pretty much, I don't know where y'all at, but this is the mortgage, this is the utilities. Neither one of y'all make the money. So now that y'all have jobs, I want to see your stubs to see if this is something y'all can do. Because if not, y'all got to move back home. And I feel like, huh? No. They need to figure it the fuck out. And you and Cecil need to stop handicapping. I mean, no, that's wrong term. Sorry, y'all. No disrespect to the ADA community. Um, y'all need to stop like rendering those kids where they cannot learn. They need to struggle. Part of, you know, out oh bad. Yes. This right here. Because it was the oldest son that was with that girl that they went out to dinner with? Is he still with her? Because they look like they just sloppy with it and they ain't with nobody. So, but I just feel like this is Simone creating havoc where now you want to complain about the shit that you did. Because I believe it's her. I believe it's mostly Cecil that's doing this, that keeping those boys tight. Because I don't know, you know, why he feels like they can't just be men and just grow up and just get regular jobs if they're not going to school and if
Because
they're not
he's
graduating.
not he didn't do that. After he got laid off, he done had 10,726 and three quarters worth of careers. He's spoiling them boys with Simone's money, as quiet as it's kept. I'm tired of this storyline. Get these people off of this fucking show. They have absolutely nothing to give. Their children are grown. I don't need to see their grown kids on these episodes while they make a fool of their sons and make it hard for them to find potential women today. Where's Heavenly's kids? One of them selling real estate, the other is in dental school about to graduate, and the other is going to her parents' alma mater. Why are they here? Even the people with small kids, Contessa's kids are busier than their kids. I don't
It's just,
care to see these men anymore, these young men. I don't care. Especially them
it's
trying to
just
teach them
crazy.
some fake ass, disingenuous lesson about understanding the fucking struggle. They grew up spoiled. You're not going to suddenly teach them after raising them and giving them what the hell they want for year after year after year. You're not going to suddenly get them to be responsible. It's not going to happen.
I
Let
agree.
them fall on their ass, like James said. And one day they'll say, Mom, Dad, we get it. Until then, either fire these people, make them a friend of, like Contessa, and give her their spot. I don't care for these people no more. They irked my soul. I'm sick of it. Where's Tammy? Talk about that.
I told y'all. I told y'all this season, had it been that left up to me and doing the cash trip, when I tell y'all we would have had a weekend jaunt to Tammy's, because Simone played in Jackie's face. I don't care what nobody say. Simone played in Jackie's face. And when I tell y'all, if I was Jackie, we would have had a weekend jaunt to Tammy's. Tammy would have popped up somewhere. Whether it was delivering the food, and I would have said, "Oh, Simone, look who here. Hey, Tammy girl, come sit down and fix you a plate." And watch Simone sweat. I would have. Because you ain't gonna play in my face. But yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with everything you just said. This storyline was stupid. And I'm not going to sit here and watch black men be spoiled, rotten, and now you want to complain about it when they don't keep their house clean, when they don't keep the bills paid, and all this bullshit. You created this. So let them fall on their ass, or y'all get the fuck up off this camera and not show us this shit no more because it was stupid. Moving on. So now it's the day of Contessa's event. And we have everyone there. Heavenly was driving up with Damon. And it cracks me up when I see Heavenly drive with Damon in the car because it reminds me of the very first episode when she was driving that convertible and she couldn't back it up because she said she can't see because the wig was all in her face and she ain't had no backup camera. So every time I see that, I'm just like, Lord Heavenly, don't drive no car no more with Damon. Damon, drive the car, please. But they get to the event and, you know, Contessa's making her speech and everything. And they split up and ladies are talking. And Contessa pretty much tells Quad, you know, that she does not want to pick sides, but at the same time, the same grace they have for Quad, they need to have for Greg and T. And Quad looked at Contessa, was like, well, wait a minute, which one is it? Because you just told me you saw it in my house. You saw it from my point of view. Now you're telling us we need to have grace for that? No, that's not going to happen. Like, you understand, there's charges pressed against my man right now. He can't come around the group. So what do you want me to do? And now here's the thing. I understand what Contessa, I understood the point Contessa was trying to make. I did. I understood exactly what she was saying. However, she needs to understand the circumstance of this. This situation and this circumstance are two different elements. The circumstance is that there are charges pressed and we can't extend grace. You can't expect her to extend grace to people when in a controlled environment, because this is a controlled space, y'all. I get, you know, we want to say this is reality TV, but Married to Medicine is a production. What nothing happened to Dr. Gregory in the same way when nothing happened to King. So I kind of feel like what Contessa was saying was a form of that. But at the same time, they feel how they feel because the action has already been done. And I do agree, she is playing the middle. She's playing the middle because she doesn't want to ruffle the feathers of Quad or Sweet Tea. But at the same time, you need to stand where you stand. Either you agree with Gregory filing charges against King or you don't agree with it and just move forward with it. And you should be able to tell Sweet Tea, I don't agree with what he did. I'm sorry. I love you. We can still be friends, but I don't agree with what your husband did. Or if you feel like Quad, I don't agree with King did. He shouldn't have never charged that man. You need to pick a lane. And that's what I'm saying about Contessa, y'all. This is what it is. Contessa moves in a way where she has to get everybody on her side. It's like, it's so weird that she does it. Yeah, F piece when you try to, yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. Like, I'm like, no, you ain't finna try to make me feel like I need to have peace with them when they didn't cause the whole nother ruckus when we don't even need to go that far. Nobody was touched. Nobody was hit. So what the hell are we doing here? She's trying to give Sweet Tea some support because she doesn't have any support in the group, and she's trying not to go against Quad. I'm sorry, but she's gonna have to pick.
Sweet
And
Tea was also problematic, and this shows that Contessa's judgment itself is skewed.
yep,
I don't think she has an issue with picking. I genuinely feel like production, because it doesn't make sense that she's not a main cast member. They probably are making her do this because it's very clear that while charges have been filed, if you file charges, then you choose to stay away. Dr. G want to file charges and then still show up to events and be in front of the camera and all of that. If you really don't want to be around somebody and you know they're a part of the show prior to you being there, then why come around? I don't get that part. I just don't. But Contessa definitely, once there's legal stuff involved, I wouldn't have invited either party because why would you want to put yourself or your event at risk of some drama with people who already have the law involved. Like it was weird.
I feel like this situation of Bitch They Winning is isolated from the previous events. Like I feel like this one, she wasn't really respond. This was no place for her to respond to it. It had nothing to do with her. So I kind of feel like she inserted herself in there for the protection of her husband. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but to me that is not a response for her to place. That's just something to where she either needs to let the men handle it amongst themselves, or if she is going to get involved, try to make a resolvement where they go to their separate quarters. But that's not what she did. She walked up and chest up, and when Quad told her go to your husband, that's when she decided to do it. It wasn't even like that to me. I feel like this situation is nicely laid down. Before, absolutely, I would agree with this comment. But this situation, no, I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel
It
like
was the
she,
wrong thing for her to run to a man like she gonna fight a man. If I
right,
see my man being charged at, I'm not gonna run in the opposite direction of where he's at. I'm gonna run toward him. So it
mm,
didn't make sense that Sweet Tea did that at all. But Sweet Tea, I think she kind of impacted herself negatively with this group permanently because in the previous episode, you telling these women you gonna stick beside your husband, and when they're asking you about friendship with you, you're saying that I don't know, that's up to Greg. So it's like, yes, we want people to an extent to be married to medicine, but you also want people who are able to be a part of the group. And it doesn't seem like she's gonna be able to do that. She's gonna do what he says. So I
mm,
don't know. Sweet Tea is weird. She's just making all the wrong moves. But she's also new to reality TV, highly thirsty, and snatched up a man that she could not handle.
yeah. But yeah, and I agree with that. In now in terms after that, when Contessa's pleading against Qua, Heavenly's all like, not when there's charges filed, like you can't do that. And Contessa's like, stop being negative, Heavenly, stop being negative. And she goes, no, I'm not being negative. Let's hear what Qua has to say. And I don't know who put their hands in whose face first, but they were both going at it. And Dr. Jackie's so heavily, she goes, chill. And even Dr. Mimi was like, Heavenly, come on, now. You ain't got to do all of that. Now, I know a lot of y'all gonna say, James, come on. But I actually agree with Heavenly. I feel like Contessa was being way too unfair. Because here's the thing, Heavenly told you it's irresponsible to invite both couples to the trip. Now, luckily, Quad came on her own, but you can't go up to Quad and say you need to have grace for Dr. Gregory and Sweet Tea, and because they're going to be involved because they're a part of the group. You can't bring that to her when the situation is fresh, when the charges put against her man are fresh. You can't do that. Like, I understand to a certain degree that you want people to be mature and try to move past this. But one went to the law and pressed legal charges. What do you expect her to respond to now? So I kind of agreed with Evelyn. I feel like she wasn't being fair. I feel like she's flip flopping. She's only being one sided and only seeing it from her point of view because she wants her successful event to happen, not necessarily, considering everybody else. I just feel like she's moving weird. It's just wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
it's common sense. It really is common sense. Once legalities and all of that crazy stuff is
mhm.
involved, they act like because they doctors that other people don't have shit to lose. The same way they could put their license at risk or their reputation is the same thing for King and for Quad. Hell, Quad already got people not liking her, so that can impact her brand. And for King, you never know who may not want to deal with him professionally after dealing with this foolery. So everybody is at risk of losing something. But Contessa, who said it? I think it was Bap. Like, I agree with that fully. Heavenly definitely was not wrong. And this is the thing I wish Heavenly wouldn't do. Let Contessa sink on her own. Stop trying
Yes.
to come and defend her by telling your friend the truth when they need to hear it. Because she's not going to receive it because she's fucking egotistical and prideful. And then, secondly, she flip floppy and wishy washy when it comes to Heavenly on this show. So, Heavenly, just mind your business. Because people could actually like Heavenly if we saw her, you know, consoling or uplifted, talking with Quad after, or leaving in solidarity with Quad instead of just getting involved. Because you damned if you do and you damned if you don't with Contessa Heavenly. So just mind your business. But Heavenly definitely was not wrong. She warned her. It didn't go right. And then secondly, Contessa Quad has told you that she felt that that man was abusive to her. You were a part of the cast at that time, so to expect her to just want to be around him comfortably
And that's
is
another
unrealistic.
thing that gets me. She was the one standing up and saying, and I can remember her at that reunion and even in season 6 being one of the two people, her and Heavenly, which is why they were my favorite friendship because out of all the women, Heavenly and Contessa were the only two that had Quad's back. So for now, you to come around years later and pull this shit, yeah, I don't see. I tell you, I don't see it for Contessa. I don't because I feel like she's playing. And if I was Quad, I would feel a way about Contessa because especially watching this back and you thinking this lady was, especially when Simone was being mean to Quad, when Mariah was being mean to Quad, and Toya and all them. Like, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Contessa, she got me with this one because I didn't know where the fuck she was coming from with this. But yeah, it was crazy. But pretty much the men were talking about this stuff too, and how they feel Greg was overreacting and pressing the charges, and especially Steve. Steve was the main one that was like, dude, this is small. Like, what the hell? Nobody was touched. You didn't get hit. Like, what the hell's the problem? Like the fact that that's going on there. So when they do get their sweet tea and Dr. Greg and they do have it, you know, the men tell Greg, like, what is the issue? Like, why can't you let this go? And Greg's all like, 'cause I don't feel comfortable. Now, he's entitled to feel how he feels. I'm not trying to discredit that at all. But once again, I feel like, dude, come on. Now you're being silly. He was. He was looking, because to me, nobody was on his side with this because it sounds very silly. It does. It sounds very silly to press charges when you weren't even in any dangerous situation.
He is scary little bitch. You could say it.
I
He
don't
was
want
scared. That man was afraid. The way, as Shani, my good twin, said, he moonwalked backwards in that sand so fast. When that man came at him, he wanted to make sure that he was never charged that again. Because I don't think that Greg has ever even been in a street fight, like even in the school.
to.
I
No,
just can't see that. And nothing's wrong with that. But you don't get the right to put somebody's, future, income, freedom, all of these things at risk just because you were afraid. Especially when, if you look at the snapshots and watch the scene, he himself was using aggressive body language against King. And people who not, goody two shoes and may not have grew up the way Dr. G did, when you use the body language he had, it's like, oh, we gonna fight. So to go and press charges after that was just wild. This group has also had fights in the group with the women. Um, in previous seasons, several times, nobody's pressed charges. Like,
exactly. It's so
so
crazy.
for him to be the sole person to do it, of course they're not going to respect that.
Exactly. Yep. I could have said it better myself. So the ladies are talking with T. I don't really care about that conversation, but it was heavily and Quad walking out with me. She said it was a nice event. Contessa, get some help, baby. I was hollering when Heavily said that because Contessa does need to get some help because her thought process, her and Scott both, they belong together. I see it now. At first, I didn't see because I told you I didn't believe Contessa was straight. I didn't believe that at all. I don't, and I still to some degree don't believe Contessa is straight. But I see why they work because they both their mindset is weird. Like I know he's a Scorpio, but like he don't operate like no Scorpio. He don't. Not like to that degree where you're trying to get everyone on your side. Like I wonder what their dynamic was when they were dating. Because the fact that they feel like they need to rally around people to get them on their side when they're trying to make a point about something is weird. That's a weird tactic. So exactly. In the first season, Mariah and Toya fought like crazy at an event. No police were called. They didn't press charges against each other. So it's like, yeah, come on. But that was Married to Medicine, y'all. It was a good episode. Contessa really pissed me off this episode. She really did because it was like, man, like, come on. Like, I know you ain't finna pull this right now. Is there anything else you want to add, Mrs. Best?
No, I think we about covered it.
Alrighty. Well, guys, tomorrow we will be on Mrs. Best channel for Love and Hip Hop Miami. I hope you guys are ready for that because I'm about to go watch the episode. Hopefully it's good. And if it's not, we're going to talk about it tomorrow. But I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to both me and Mrs. Best and also Shana's channel as well. It's in my description box. Please show my girl some love, and we will see you guys on my next recap. My next video will be Thursday. I will see you then. Bye-bye.